Now joining us, Governor Dean, former chairman of the DNC, and now the chairman of the board of the Progressive Book Club, among many, many other things. So, Howard Dean, great to have you on the Young Turks again.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, I want to mainly talk about healthcare.
Yep.
Obviously, that's the hot topic now. Now, I know you're pushing for the public option. First, let me start with the basics. When did this come about? Because I don't remember hearing about the public option during the campaign. And then all of a sudden it pops up, and it sounds like a pretty good idea.
President Obama talked about it during his campaign. Mm-hmm. What he said, like I've been doing this stuff for 30 years in healthcare. This is the best healthcare plan I've seen in terms of being able to pass. What Americans have been afraid of is they don't like the healthcare system because it's too expensive and they get, pushed around by insurance companies, but they do like the care they get. And so previous campaigns for health insurance that covers everybody, like all the other Western democracies have been defeated because the people that make all the money leaving the system the way it is, the health insurance companies and so forth, have said you're going to lose your doctor, your care is going to get hurt, and they scared them. What Obama has said is you can choose. You keep what you like if you have it. We'll even help you buy it if you can't afford it. Or you can go into a public health insurance option, which, by the way, is more effective, less expensive, and which people over 65 have had in this country for over 40 years.
So we talked about this a little bit in the press conference earlier today. I asked you the question about it. A lot of people are saying, hey, wait a minute, if you do this public option, the private companies aren't going to be able to compete, and that they're going to get largely driven out of business. Now, you say that fear is unwarranted?
Yeah, well, not only is it unwarranted, look at all the other countries that have this, that have universal health care. Every Western democracy, in Australia, Great Britain, France, Germany, et cetera, New Zealand, they all have this. Private insurance exists in every single one of them. Mm-hmm. We're not interested in running private insurance out of the business. All we want to do is have private insurance treat people fairly. The only way to make sure they treat people fairly is to give people an option to get out if they want. Then if they don't like the public insurance, they can go back to the private insurance. But let Americans choose. Let's not have the politicians choose and the insurance companies choose.
But you also cited a statistic in the press conference at the convention where you said, Britain is the most socialized medicine of all the different countries.
Of the Western countries.
Of the Western countries. And so we understand that that's the furthest on the spectrum. But the number there you said is that it's still 15% private insurance.
Right.
But that's what leads the private companies to think, wait a minute, we're going to go from 100% to maybe all the way down to 15%?
Yeah, but that's the choice of the British people. Why are we worried about the health insurance industry? Mm-hmm. Why can't we let ordinary Americans decide? Haven't we done enough for industry here? We've bailed out the insurance companies. We've bailed out the car companies. We've bailed out the banks. Let the American people make this choice. Let's not bail out the insurance companies, the health insurance companies at the expense of ordinary Americans.
Well, one would conclude that if they can't compete, that maybe perhaps they weren't the most efficient.
That's right. And there are going to be some safeguards in the bill to make sure that the government doesn't do anything that's unfair. Mm-hmm. We're not interested in having a bill, a system where the government pours all the taxpayers' money into this system. What we want is a system that treats people in a rational, fair, thoughtful way. For example, one of the examples is if you have employer-based health insurance and you lose your job, you just lost your insurance. Or you got to pay $13,000, $14,000 a year, which is pretty tough on no wages, to keep your COBRA insurance. Well, if you're in the public option, it doesn't matter who you work for because you have that insurance. You don't have to worry, gee, I can't afford to take this job in this small business because I don't get insurance.
So let's talk about the public option and how it works a little bit better, because is the government subsidizing it at all? Because that's what people are going to ask. Or is it just what we put in as people who are opting into the system?
The government is willing to subsidize both private and public insurance, the same amount. Mm-hmm. So if you are a person who makes $25,000 a year and can't get health insurance, the government will give you a subsidy, and you can take it either to the private sector or the public sector. It's up to you. It's your choice. So, but if the public sector doesn't do as good a job as the private sector, of course they're going to lose business.
But no extra money to the public option.
Well, look, we don't know how it's going to be designed right now because it hasn't been designed. But that's right. The original thought was, no, you can take. Now, the public option is going to be cheaper. Mm-hmm. Because they spend Medicare, which is a public program, they spend 4 cents out of every dollar on administration. The best nonprofit health insurance company spends 12 cents out of every dollar on administration, and the best for-profit health insurance company spends about 20 cents because they got to give money back to their shareholders. So it's a lot cheaper to run a public option than it is a private option, which of course is why the private companies are so cranked up. But they can compete and they'll end up making money. If they can do it in Britain, they can certainly do it in America.
So the fact that they might lose up to 85% of the market,
well,
of course,
they won't lose anything close to that.
I don't think so either. But that's the most extreme case.
That's right. That's right.
Obviously, it's going to motivate them to fight tooth and nail.
Sure, and
because they make money off that 20%. That's
right.
Administrative costs, et cetera. That goes into their pocket. So, how does it work in reality in Congress?
Here's what's going to happen.
Okay.
Let's just say the public option passes.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say a certain number of people like it, so they either leave the ranks of the uninsured or leave the ranks of the badly insured and join the public option. Some insurance companies go out of business, but most of the smart ones will say, okay, this is what this basic public option covers. But there are some other things that a lot of people would like to have, and we'll sell you insurance for that. For example, there's a company right now, or there are a couple of companies right now, that if you get a cancer, they'll give you cash. They don't pay the doctor. They'll give you cash. And why does that matter? Because if you can't work, now suddenly you don't have to live on disability. Or if you really need some help at a hospital that's 500 miles away, your wife or your husband can come and stay in the hotel room while you're getting your treatment and be with you and pay the babysitter for 3 weeks while you're. So there's insurance is always going to be a market for insurance.
No,
but there ought to be a basic package that every American can get, and that ought to be available through a public option.
Governor Dean, let's talk about how the fight's going to happen, though, in Congress. Okay. Because now there's, I suppose, some senators and congressmen who are going to think, hey, you know what, I have philosophical issues with this, right? But it seems to me that there's going to be a decent number who are going to think, well, it makes sense, but I get paid by the healthcare industry. Now, how do you, one, I know you can't call them out. So how do you, because that's the real fight. You know, Obama says, oh, the healthcare industry and the lobbyists are going to come, right? It's not just in the form of ads. It's when they go to buy the congressmen and the senators.
Right.
But you guys, as, you know, I mean, I don't know, as Democrats, have a hard time calling out other Democrats. So how do you fight with that one hand tied behind your back?
Well, you know, I don't think you're going to see a hard time calling out Democrats who don't vote for this. But right now, people are trying to make up their mind. So I think it's a little early for the name calling to start. I mean, you know.
I know, but there's going to come a time.
There will come a time. And, you know, I don't see any particular reason to support people who aren't supporting the things that the American people want. I think there'll be a lot of other people who are in the same boat.
But will there be the courage to say, hey, Senator XYZ is voting this way because he's getting $1 million from the healthcare industry?
You know what? You won't have to say that. Their opponents will say that for them, first of all.
But the problem is the Republican opponents don't, because they get just as much money, if not more. So in this two-party system, who's calling out?
They're going to be people running in primaries, and Democracy for America, which I now work for, supports Democrats who run in primaries. I wasn't able to do that, nor did I want to do that when I was chairman of the DNC, but now it's a different time.
I know also at the press conference they asked you whether this was a deal breaker, the public option, in being involved or not being involved in the health care reform. But talking it through, it seems like if it's not involved, then what's the point? I mean, it seems like it's absolutely necessary.
If you don't have a public health insurance option, to put $1.5 trillion into a system that already doesn't work makes no sense whatsoever. None. We're running up a hell of a lot of debt here. And I think running up a hell of a lot of debt is a bad thing. On the other hand, this is a real chance to change America for the better and make us competitive again. You know, this is not just about uninsured people. We're losing jobs to Canada because their companies don't have to pay for health insurance and ours do. And our costs go up at 2 or 3 times the rate of inflation. Nobody's done anything about it for 40 years. So we really need a change in this country. But if we're not going to get a real change, then there's no point in spending all that money.
All right, so Governor Dean, let me ask you one last question on this topic, which is, you know, people will say, look, you say if you're over 65, you already have this system,
right?
You know, Medicare. But then the Republicans will counter, well, look, Medicare is going to go bankrupt, so you see it doesn't work. How do you address that?
Medicare hasn't gone bankrupt in 40 years, and it won't go bankrupt now any more than Social Security is going to go bankrupt. There'll be increases in costs. There'll be decreases in benefits. There'll be nipping and tucking around the edges. There has to be. But these programs are not going to go bankrupt. They're too popular with the American people. You know, people over 65 used to be the largest group who lived in poverty of any group of people in America, and that's not true anymore because of Social Security and Medicare.
Mm-hmm. Now, Social Security and Medicare have a lot more problems because we raided their funds, basically, and used it on the regular budget. And so when they say Social Security is going to go bankrupt, it's because we took all the money out of it when we should have kept it in there. Do we know, I mean, if it's a similar system, will we run into similar problems?
We don't have to. Well, first of all, that's a bookkeeping problem.
Right.
I'm against that, and I think that Congress has been grossly irresponsible over both Democrats and Republicans over the years.
That's right.
But they can fix that. What they can't fix is the actuarial problem of taking in less money that they need to unless they change the program, and that's what they're going to have to do.
All right. So finally, I'm sure everybody at home is wondering, what are you up to these days? I know you're working with DFA. Obviously, you're a chairman of the Progressive Book Club. But you get to relax more now that you're not running the DNC?
I have a book
Are you
coming
playing
out.
golf, or what's happening?
Book coming out on iPhone next week at this time.
Book coming out on iPhone?
On iPhone, and then it'll be the iPhone version will be it's Howard Dean's prescription for real healthcare reform. I did not suggest the title. I fought against it, but that's what the publisher wanted to call it.
What did you want?
Chelsea Green is the publisher, and it'll be out next week by iPhone application, and then a month from now it'll be out in the bookstores, hopefully featured by the Progressive Book Club. Although you can probably get it through Move On and Democracy for America and your affinity groups.
I have a
too.
feeling the Progressive Book Club is going to carry that book.
Yeah, they
so
probably
the
will.
iPhone version that's audio.
Yeah, no, it's a reader. You can read it on your iPhone.
So, but are you getting a chance to relax? Are you going to Hawaii a little bit more? Or no,
I don't feel like relaxing. There's too much to do. Look, getting the president, getting a Democratic president was the beginning, not the end. There was a reason to get a Democratic president, and that's so you could really make the kinds of changes that the American people deserve. And so now we got to make the changes.
This is the real crunch time.
This is the real crunch time.
Because if we don't get this done, then what was the point?
That's right.
Right.
The election was hard. This is going to be harder.
At least you get to hang out with your brother a little bit more.
That's
right.
right. That's right.
Democracy for America. All right, Howard Dean, thank you so much for joining us on the Young Turks.
Thanks for
really
having me
appreciate
on.
it.
Thank you.